and welcome back to the Rabbit Hole Podcast, the podcast where we deep dive into some of the strangest, craziest, and most mysterious conspiracy theories out there. Today, I'm going to be talking about Area 51 and alien secrets. You can go ahead and watch the full podcast on our channel, and I will have it linked below. And we interviewed Dr. Marks. Just starting from the beginning, there have been years and years and years of government denial that aliens exist. There's also been a million different ways that people have thought that aliens have interacted with us, have existed, and how Area 51 all plays into this, as well as ancient aliens. Starting with Area 51, which is extremely fascinated. It was denied for years by the government that it actually existed. And in 2013, they actually ended up acknowledging that it did exist. And the mysterious area was then confirmed in a released declassified CIA document in 2014. Now, this document still has some parts that are blanked out, obviously, because it's a declassified document. It was revealed that Area 51 was used for testing high-altitude aircraft that was used in the Cold War, like the U-2 and A-12 Oxcart. This providing some real evidence behind the secret technology that was used here, which had been theorized for years and was denied by the government. Officially, it's part of the Nevada Test and Training Range, and it's used for experimental flight testing and advanced military projects, but it was never confirmed, or there is never any information in that unclassified or declassified document from the CIA that aliens do exist. The facility is a restricted airspace, and its remote location and classified operations create the perfect storm for speculation, which is why the speculation has continued to happen years after years after years. And even in the declassified documents, the reference of Area 51 was extremely vague. And I will go ahead and link the declassified documents down below as well if you would like to look at them. But they often just simply explained it as overhead reconnaissance sites. And the lack of transparency here from the government kind of continues to invite this idea that Area 51 is more than what we think that it is at the end of the day. Moving into the Bob Lazar story, if you don't know who Bob Lazar is, in 1989, Lazar came forward alleging that he worked at a facility called S4. This is near Area 51, and he said that he worked on reverse engineering alien spacecraft powered by element 115, which is a material capable of manipulating gravity, which is also not capable of being built by humans. Lazar's credibility has always really been rocky on whether he truly worked at Area 51 or if he is kind of just speculating all of this, but nonetheless, some of his details are a little bit strange. Mostly the idea of element 115 and his descriptions of gravity propulsion and advanced energy systems continue to intrigue people. And whether he saw alien spacecraft or worked on experimental US technology, Lazar's story kind of perfectly fits into all of this idea, even after and later on when more information was released after his identity. I mean, he had the interview in 1989, and then a few months later, his identity was released, and he's been very open in talking about it. And then even going into when the declassified documents from the CIA were released, his information kind of fits perfectly into the story. And it's like, well, if he was not telling the truth, then how is he then knowing this information and saying the same things. I'm going to go ahead and clip down in a link to the rest of this video, but here is a short clip from Channel 8 News from Las Vegas on Bob Lazar's interview from 1989.
Totally impossible. The propulsion system is a gravity propulsion system. The power source is an antimatter reactor. This technology does not exist at all.
The claims sounded like Hollywood sci-fi. Months later, when his identity was revealed, Bob Lazar said he worked at a secret facility near Groom Lake, where alien technology was being reverse engineered, that is, taken apart to figure out how it worked and whether the Pentagon could duplicate it. This is the simple drawing he made at the time.
Here now, I had access and was permitted to view and look at the operation of this main level with the gravity amplifiers and the level below.
The premise seems less preposterous now.
Moving forward in our discussion, me and Dr. Marks talked about ancient aliens and the past. And there is this idea that civilizations like the Egyptians and the Mayans left behind massive monuments such as the pyramids, and it was thought that they couldn't have done all of that by themselves. They didn't have the technology in order to do that. But they also talked about these myths of sky gods, which supporters of the ancient astronaut theory is that there was contact with extraterrestrial life, which was then sought out as these sky gods, which was then put into folklore that was brought down, which is what we hear about in school and what you can do a little bit of research on and hear about in the Egyptian and Mayan culture. And these civilizations shared their knowledge with humans and created these technologies in order to build the Egyptian and Mayan monuments that we see today. While mainstream scholars do not attribute these structures to anything more than just human innovation, because like Dr. Marks said, science was not a thing back then, and I think that we're kind of, to her point, discrediting the advancements of those civilizations. The precision and scale of these ancient architectures continue to raise questions, and this is why it's linking back to this mystery and modern conspiracy that there was more than human life that was participating in these buildings and architecture of these buildings, and which is why they're to the scale that they are today. Moving a little bit more into the idea of lost technology and hidden knowledge, some believe that the advanced engineering of these ancient monuments hides a lost technology. What I mean by this is a knowledge that was forgotten or hidden over time, and in Area 51 in this view may have represented a continuation of this search. So it's seeming to be a modern attempt to rediscover or replicate advanced energy systems once known by ancient civilizations. So it's basically thought that ancient civilizations got in contact with extraterrestrials or aliens, whatever you want to call them. Then they built those technologies in order to build those monuments, advance their civilizations, and have those sky gods help them. That has therefore then been lost, and so that's why Area 51 is what it is, because we are trying to rediscover and refine those technologies in order to advance our civilization today. Whether the myth is real or whether it is completely made up and is just a giant conspiracy in and of itself, the parallels between ancient wonders and classified modern research continues to add to this fascination, and it continues to add speculation into why are so many things adding up, but there's no true evidence behind if this is real or fake. Moving into something that is a little bit more aligned with why Area 51 is so mysterious is government secrecy. While we all know that I'm pretty sure it's during the Cold War, the government continued to get more and more secret with its operations, just basically because it didn't trust the American people in order to keep secrets from the Soviet Union. And so prior to that, the government was very open and honest, and they obviously didn't rely everything, but they were more open and honest than they were post Cold War and during Cold War. And so from this, they have now today had a long, long history of denial, reduction, and silence, which keeps adding into these theories and many other theories as well. Even after declassifying some of the CIA documents over Area 51, many of those pages still remain censored. And some argue that this is a protection for national security, but then others believe that it's just to manipulate and conceal information from the public. And either way, it's a very tight control over information, and it feeds into the public distrust around this idea, and fuels the idea that something larger could be hidden. And I genuinely believe that there's a lot more that we don't know. We're just not in the position to know to know that information, because we're not in the government, and we're just the public, and we're not going to know those things because unless the government gives them to us, because it is so highly secretized and kept a secret that we may never know some of this information. But then there's the idea of the JFK assassination connection. So the idea basically is that President John F. Kennedy came into office, got the whole debriefing as a new president to understand what was truly going on in Area 51, along with everything else, but for this story, Area 51. And it was basically that the government is allowing aliens to use Area 51, and that is why so many people were going missing, because people were going missing to therefore be tested in Area 51 by the aliens, which was allowed by the government in exchange for the higher technology advancements that the aliens were able to provide the United States. And the idea connected to JFK was that he wanted to release information and share information with the public and tell them, hey, look, like, this is what's happening. This is what has been going on. You deserve to know this. And the idea then was that the CIA found out that he wanted to release this information, and therefore then set up the assassination to kill John F. Kennedy. Now, there is no evidence behind this. This is completely theorized. There is no factual, like, this actually is a fact behind blah, 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 blah evidence, but there is a lot of speculation behind this. And according to this theory, his call for transparency in defense projects and interest in space exploration made him the threat that therefore then the CIA, which has done a lot of shady things, gave them the right to then set up the assassination. And while this continues to remain in the air and is not credible or proved, it still interacts and intertwines a little bit too mysteriously to understand that this may or may not have a connection. The dots add up just a little bit too much with this one. Moving into the question of, does the government already know the truth about aliens, and or is everyone just searching for something that doesn't exist? I personally think that they do. I think they know about something that is going on, and much like what Dr. Mark said, which again, I will link the interview down below so you can go ahead and watch that after or before this, but our world and our world is too big to just have us. And I think that it's closed-minded to think that we are the only option for life. And while I think some people take the alien conspiracy a little bit too far, and there's things that may be a little bit outlandish that are still very speculated and make a lot of sense because everything adds up, but it's like there's no factual evidence behind it. I still think that the secrecy behind Area 51 is for a reason. And I think that that reason is more than just military weaponry and military aircraft. And whether it's true or not, I think that it is too close-minded in order to think that we are the only life forms here. But I beg you with this question, whether you believe in aliens, ancient astronauts, or classified technology, one fact remains. Area 51 secrecy is actually real, and this can be simply proven through the 2014 declassified documents. And there's a reason that these stories continue to thrive. The CIA's own records confirm decades of hidden research, and Bob Lazar, whether he is telling the truth or not, has a point as well. And the facts surrounding the JFK assassination connecting to this are a little bit too close for comfort to make sense. So this challenges us to look behind the official explanations and understand what Area 51 might actually be. Maybe we're not the only ones here. Maybe there are more in this universe than just us. That is it for today. Tune in to next week's episode where we are going to be talking about the JFK assassination, the lone gunman, or a cover-up by the CIA, and we'll run through a variety of different explanations that people have for how JFK was assassinated and who was involved. Remember to like, subscribe, and share, and maybe leave a comment down below for something that you would like to hear later on. If you are on Spotify, you can always watch the video version over on YouTube, and if you're on YouTube, you can always go and listen to the audio version on Spotify. Thank you, and I look forward to diving deep into the rabbit hole again with you next week.